the 2024-2025 summer crops marketing and the 2025 winter production plan, the government of Zimbabwe remains confident about achieving a projected grain surplus of between 800,000 to 1.2 million metric tons for the current marketing season, and continues to provide resources to facilitate timely payments for grain deliveries by farmers. The ZMX platform remains active, having processed the marketing of 7,507 metric tons of cereals, oilseeds and pulses to date. The warehouse receipt system is gaining traction, with farmers actively utilizing warehouse receipts for grain storage, financing and input swap arrangements. Consignment stock is available for farmers to purchase inputs utilizing grain sale proceeds or ZMX warehouse receipts. As of 24 July 2025, approximately 25.3 million kilograms of cotton valued at United States dollars 7.7 million had been marketed to 6 active contractors, compared to 13.3 million kilograms in the year 2024. Most contractors are paying cash on the spot, while others are utilizing electronic transfers. Tobacco sales reached 348.5 million kilograms as at 24 July 2025, a notable rise from 228.9 million kilograms sold during the same period in 2024. Tobacco sales reached 348.5 million kilograms as at 24 July 2025, which is a huge change from 228.9 million kilograms sold during the same period in the previous year. The sales surge pushed the total value to over 1.16 billion United States dollars, a significant jump from the United States dollars 785.3 million in the year 2024, with sealed sales up by 46% to over 1 million grams worth 212,377 hectares, compared to 727,000 grams valued in terms of hectarage 145,321 hectares. The country is set for another record-breaking 2025-2026 tobacco production season, with a planted area of 122,897 hectares of wheat, 6,115 hectares of barley, and 4,708 hectares of potatoes. The government of Zimbabwe continues to monitor productivity enablers to guarantee the achievement of the anticipated 875,000 metric tons of wheat, barley and potatoes from the 2025 winter season. Cabinet considered and approved the review of levies, license fees and permits levied on businesses, the people of Zimbabwe, by ministries, departments and agencies of government. His Excellency the President Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa at the beginning of the year highlighted the high level of levies, licenses, fees and permit prices in terms of the cost of doing business in Zimbabwe. His Excellency the President Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa directed a review of levies, licenses, fees and permits across 12 sectors, namely health, agriculture, retail, tourism, transport, energy, manufacturing, broadcasting, telecommunications, liquor, construction and financial services. A study was conducted by the government of Zimbabwe, which established, among other things, that some of the regulators require a single business to obtain multiple fragmented licenses in terms of framework or permits, adding unnecessary administrative burdens. Other regulators have lengthy processes and procedures before they can issue the respective licenses. In order to provide relief to business and the generality of the people of Zimbabwe, the government of Zimbabwe has directed the Ministry of Finance and Economic Development, line ministries, and the Office of the President and Cabinet, who is headed by the Chief Secretary in terms of the Secretariat, to superintend and coordinate detailed sector reviews on the licenses, levies, fees, and permits. The review will specifically address economy-wide regulatory challenges, including the multiplicity and duplication and fragmentation of regulatory charges. A whole-of-government approach, which will be coordinated by the Ministry of Finance and Economic Development, the Chief Secretary to the President and Cabinet, and line ministries, will bring together respective MDAs and businesses for a consensus-based review. The process will adopt a 100-day cycle-based accelerator model, and a detailed recommendations agreed upon by stakeholders will be submitted to Cabinet for approval. Once approved, the reviewed fees and levies will be implemented through amendments of the respective legislation and statutory instruments. This reform process will significantly streamline and reduce the burden on the people of Zimbabwe, business, enhance national competitiveness, attract investment, promote economic growth, create employment, and enhance the country's competitiveness in terms of business, and also to catapult the country towards the attainment of Vision 2030. Cabinet considered and approved the Foreign Relations and International Trade Policy. The Foreign Relations and International Trade Policy is anchored on the following goals: promotion of a peaceful and secure international environment for Zimbabwe's development, facilitation of local production for international markets to promote trade, promotion of international tourism for Zimbabwe's prosperity, fostering international cooperation in education, science, technology, innovation, and culture, and the promotion and protection of the interests of Zimbabwean citizens living abroad. The implementation of the Foreign Relations and International Trade Policy will be guided by Zimbabwe's doctrine on foreign relations and international cooperation, which has the following tenets. Zimbabwe's strength lies in its heritage and its people, which is nyika inovakwa nevene vayo. The liberation of the mind, leaving no one and no place behind. Zimbabwe is a friend to all and an enemy to none. Zimbabwe is open for business, and Zimbabwe will never be a colony again. A robust foreign service architecture is essential for advancing national interests and global standing, for the integrity, dignity, and prosperity of Zimbabwe. Cabinet noted reports on priority projects for the second 100-day cycle of 2025. In terms of infrastructure and utilities, climatic pillar, in terms of NDS 1, the Minister of Transport and Infrastructural Development highlighted the following achievements under his purview. 492 kilometers of the 580 kilometers of the Harare Masvingo Bight Bridge Road have been completed and opened to traffic. The construction of the Trabablas interchange is 100% complete and was commissioned by His Excellency the President Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa on the 30th of May 2025. 24 kilometers of the 357.7 kilometers of the Harare-Kanyemba road upgrading has been completed and open to traffic. The fencing of the Shurugwi-Mandamawe road is at 35% in terms of completion. The construction of the Traffic Safety Council of Zimbabwe Masvingo offices is at 80.5% in terms of completion. The construction of the 10-kilometer Chipinge Mount Selinda road is ongoing, and the construction of the Mpopoma Traffic Training Center in Bulawayo Metropolitan Province is at 50% in terms of completion. Under the Infrastructure and Utilities pillar in terms of NDS1, the Minister of Local Government and Public Works reported the following achievements under his purview. The construction of the Wedza offices is at 98% in terms of completion. The construction of City Villas at Mount Abden is at 80% in terms of completion. The overall progress for the Nembudzia Independence Legacy projects is at 96% in terms of completion. The spatial train layout for the Munumtapa Youth Program in Mashonaland East Province is at 70%. And the installation of chiefs across the country is ongoing. Regarding the social development pillar in terms of National Development Strategy 1, the Minister of Public Service, Labour and Social Welfare reported the following achievements under his purview. The rehabilitation of the Dzivarasekwa pump station and treated water reservoir repairs is 100% complete. Preparations are ongoing for the construction of 300 units at Range More Phase 2 in Bulawayo Metropolitan Province in order to house civil servants. Road surfacing, storm water drainage, sewer and water pipeline for the construction of 124 stands in Plumtree, Matebeleland South Province is 100% complete. The construction of the Rishavane mixed accommodation in Midlands Province in order to house 448 students is ongoing. The concept note for the Tugwimkose hydropower project was developed and civil engineering drawings are underway. The construction of the Marondera Commercial Center in Mashonaland East Province is at 93% in terms of completion. And construction at Madokero Creek Phase 2 housing project is at 65% in terms of completion. Under the Environment Protection, Climate Resilience and Natural Resources pillar in terms of the National Development Strategy 1, the Minister of Tourism and Hospitality Industry highlighted progress on projects under a purview as follows. The construction of the 65-roomed Tamarida lodges and 500-seater conference facility in Kariba in Mashonaland West Province is at 80% and 100% in terms of completion. The construction of the 250 conference facility and finishing of blocks A and B of the Tamarinda lodges in Nyanga, Manicaland Province is at 70% and 95% respectively in terms of completion. The construction of 7 Holy Cross Dam chalets has been completed. The construction of the Media Center and Training Pitch at the Cricket Stadium in Victoria Falls, Matebeleland North Province is at 50% in terms of completion. The construction of the AATC Hotel in Harare Metropolitan Province is 100% complete, while the 550 capacity conference center is at 75% in terms of completion. The beautification and greening of Robert Gabriel Mugabe International Airport is ongoing, and the construction of 5 chalets at Manjirenji Lakeside Resort has been completed. The construction of a hotel in the Masvingo province in terms of the CBD is at 70% in terms of completion, and the construction of a 16-roomed and 50-seater conference Kanyemba Resort facility has been completed. Cabinet approved the Postal and Telecommunications Amendment Bill of 2025. The bill seeks to amend the Postal and Telecommunications Act Chapter 12.05 and to align it with the current trends and new developments in the telecommunications sector. The bill seeks to achieve several key objectives. It aims to provide a framework for the regulation of the communications sector by an independent regulatory authority and for the provision of communication services. Additionally, it seeks to promote the availability of efficient and quality communications services nationally. The bill also promotes technological innovations and the introduction and maintenance of advanced facilities and services in line with international standards. Furthermore, it encourages private investment and participation by citizens of Zimbabwe in the communications sector. The bill seeks to increase accessibility of efficient and quality communication services to all regions at fair and reasonable prices. It also enhances regional and global cooperation and integration in communications services. Moreover, it ensures fair competition in the sector and advances consumer protection from unfair business practices. Lastly, the bill promotes the ethical use of information communication technologies. Cabinet considered and approved the proposed ratification of the Convention on Mutual Administrative Assistance in Tax Matters. Zimbabwe joined the Global Forum on Transparency and Exchange of Information for Tax Purposes in 2024, and as part of the collaboration process, accordingly requested to join the Convention on Mutual Administrative Assistance in Tax Matters. The ratification of the Convention on Mutual Administrative Assistance in Tax Matters is a significant step in enhancing international tax cooperation. By joining this convention, Zimbabwe will expand its network for exchanging taxpayer information beyond the current 19 countries with which it has bilateral tax agreements. The Convention on Mutual Administrative Assistance in Tax Matters will facilitate the exchange of information on cross-border economic activities, enabling accurate taxation and combating tax evasion and avoidance. This move is expected to promote fair and equitable taxation rights while protecting taxpayer confidentiality and respecting sovereign taxing rights. The convention will also enable Zimbabwe to benefit from tax examinations, growth, development, and enhancement of healthcare systems within the respective territories. The scope of cooperation encompasses various healthcare domains, including primary care, which comprises collaborative efforts in reproductive, maternal, neonatal, child, and adolescent health, as well as immunization programs. Secondary care, which comprises specialist care and patient referral services, laboratory services, forensic pathology, and blood services. Health system resilience, whose key aspect is preparing for and responding to public health emergencies. Health financing, which enables both countries to explore innovative funding models, share financial expertise, and optimize resource allocation to achieve better health outcomes. Human resources, which focuses on developing and managing healthcare professionals, and the health technology, which aims to leverage health technology in order to improve healthcare delivery, enhance patient care, and streamline healthcare services. Through these MOUs, both countries are poised to strengthen healthcare systems, improve health outcomes, and enhance well-being in terms of working together on the basis of mutual respect, equality, and shared benefit. Cabinet noted the report on His Excellency the President Dr. Idi Mnangagwa's attendance at the 2025 Liberation Movement Summit in South Africa from the 26th to the 27th of July 2025. The 2025 Liberation Movement Summit was held under the theme Defending the Liberation Gains, Advancing Integrated Socio-Economic Development, Strengthening Solidarity for a Better Africa. The summit's objectives included providing a platform for liberation movements to foster learning, advancing regional socio-economic development, addressing contemporary challenges, and building alliances with global allies in order to support justice and anti-imperial solidarity. The summit emphasized the need for unity and safeguarding the legacy and mandate of liberation movements, highlighting the importance of harnessing the demographic dividend of youthful populations and rejuvenating the movements. The summit's deliberations focused on key issues of concern, such as the rise of unilateralism, socio-economic inequalities, underdevelopment, conflicts, and hybrid warfare. It also emphasized the importance of ideological orientation amongst the youth, strengthening political, economic, digital, and infrastructural integration through SADC and other platforms, and creating regional industrial value chains. Additionally, the summit highlighted the significance of Pan-Africanism in addressing inequalities through land redistribution, industrialization, and inclusive development for the benefit of society, particularly for youth and women who constitute the dominant demographic groups. Cabinet received and noted a report on the Chitungwiza Road traffic accident on the 22nd of July 2025 and the Glenview Area 8 Inferno that occurred on the 27th of July 2025. The Cabinet report in terms of the Chitungwiza Road traffic accident that claimed the lives of 19 people, 10 women, 7 men, and 2 minors, was deliberated, and Cabinet made a decision to implore drivers to exercise caution on the roads. Regarding the Glenview 8 Inferno, Cabinet was informed that nearly 1/3 of the complex was completely destroyed, negatively impacting on the lives of 700 traders as well as suppliers and other players in the value chain. The government of Zimbabwe is already in discussion with a developer to commence the reconstruction of the market at the beginning of September 2025. The Civil Protection Department has already moved in to assist the bereaved families and affected Glenview 8 business community. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for presenting today's cabinet highlights. Allow me to move first round of 3 questions. Then we get our ministers to respond to those questions. Then we go to the last round of 3 questions. Over to you, colleagues.
In addition.
Yes.
Thank you, Chief Secretary. Thank you, Chief Secretary. Mugudze Chingwele from the Herald. I have a couple of questions for the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Okay, go ahead.
to the Minister of Finance, what is the expected timeline for implementing the reduction in levies, fees, and payments across the specified factors? And also, what criteria were used to select the 12 sectors for these reductions? And are there plans to evaluate additional sectors in the future? Lastly, to the Minister of Finance, will these changes signal a shift in the government's overall fiscal policy? And what might that mean for future taxation and revenue strategies?
Will these
changes signal a shift in the government's overall fiscal policy? And what might that mean for future taxation and revenue strategies? To the Minister of Foreign Affairs, what strategies are in place to strengthen Zimbabwe's partnerships with major global powers and international organizations? Also, how will the new foreign policy support economic diplomacy and attract foreign investment into Zimbabwe? Then lastly, what metrics will be used to evaluate the success of the new foreign policy and how often?
Repeat your questions. The Minister wants to capture
What strategies are in place to strengthen Zimbabwe's partnership with major global powers and international organizations?
The next one.
How will the new foreign policy support economic diplomacy and attract foreign investment into Zimbabwe? Then lastly, what metrics will be used to evaluate the success of the new foreign policy and how often will this be reviewed? Thank you, Chief Secretary.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chief Secretary. I'm Stanley James from ZBC. My question is directed to the Minister of Finance, Professor Mchimune. The ease of doing business in Zimbabwe, to what extent does it tally with the review of fees? Does it necessarily mean a commitment by the government towards fulfilling the ease of doing business trust or agenda in Zimbabwe?
Thank you very much. Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chief Secretary. The first and the last question to the Minister of Finance and Economic Development. You can respond. Over to you, Prof. Unless you have not.
Thank you very much, Mukudze, for those questions around the issue of ease of doing business. You asked about the expected timelines. I mean, this is not a sprint but a marathon. So we are going to basically focus on this in the second half of this year, which is up to December. So it's a 6-month run that we're going to embark on. We've already started. This is the start. We've reviewed the 12 sectors so far, going into depth regarding the various fees that need to be paid, levies and so forth, paid by operators in these various sectors. So the next 6 months, the work will be done, and we've started already. So we're going to be making a series of announcements as we go along, sector by sector, to make sure that all the key critical sectors are covered. We should, next week, week after, conclude on the agricultural sector, and we'll be making announcements about specific fees and reviews of fees and levies for the agricultural sector. That will be the first sector we'll consider. Then now you asked about whether we're just looking at these 12 or we'll do more, we'll do all of them. These 12 are the most critical in terms of driving economic growth and development. And that's where we start. In fact, our sequence was we'll look at agriculture, followed by the retail sector, tourism, transport, manufacturing, energy, and we keep going. That's, for example, the first 6 or so that we'll look at, and then we make announcements as we go along. does this signal a shift in government regarding fiscal policy? No, this is about the cost of doing business, not fiscal policy. It's about regulatory costs, the environment for doing business. Of course, fiscal policy can add, and is part of the environment for doing business. On fiscal policy, in fact, what has happened is that notice that what we call the informal sector, or the non-compliant sector, as I call it, has grown over time, and there's a need to just begin to collect more revenue from that sector. Our revenue GDP ratio currently is down to 15% after the rebasing, given the growth in GDP size, in terms of what we can measure, to about 48 billion. That has reduced our revenue GDP ratio to 15%, and we need to get it back to 18% and beyond over time. So this non-compliant sector needs to be compliant when we work at measures to deal with that. But the issue we're discussing today was about the cost of doing business, the regulatory costs, where we feel that they need to be reviewed, not just the cost, but also just the number of steps in acquiring certain licenses, the number of licenses, the overlap in jurisdiction and so forth, in terms of regulatory activity by various MDAs and agencies. This will be reviewed. Then coming to Stanley James, who asked about, again, ease of doing business. What does this mean? Is it the beginning of review of fees? Yes, it is. It's the beginning of the review of fees, levies, and all manner of licensing procedures right across the economy. And we have a sequence of sectors, and we'll go sector by sector in terms of reducing the cost of doing business. You may recall, colleagues, we used to have the ease of doing business indicators from the World Bank. That was suspended after some issues, and they are now have come up with something else. But we're carrying on. We're not necessarily following that approach. There will be some overlap naturally, but we're carrying on our own, focusing on each sector and trying to make sure that we improve competitiveness sector by sector. We'll also be comparing with other countries as we do that within the region, so that we have some good benchmarks to benchmark against. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Chingwe. The second set of questions is to the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade. Over to you, Honorable Murira.
Thank you, our Chairman. Thank you very much for the questions, Mukudze. First of all, I want to answer the question on the strategies to engage in partnerships with major powers and major organizations. I want to start by saying Zimbabwe believes in the sovereign equality of nations, big and small. So that's our principle, first and foremost. And when we are interacting with any nation, big or small, the primacy is the national interest of Zimbabwe. And in relating with these powers, big or small, we believe in pragmatic, principled pragmatism, basically. So what it means is Zimbabwe is ready to engage as a confident, dignified partner, rooted in its heritage and focused on its future, and always committed to the principle of Pan-Africanism and a shared African destiny. In our interactions with any power, big or small, we are guided by our doctrine on foreign relations. So the policies implementing the doctrine, basically, first of all, getting rid of the colonial mindset, of the small, being small mindset. We are not small at all. We are Zimbabwe. And that's very important. The next thing is always to know that no matter who we relate with, we are responsible for building our own country. So whenever a diplomat interacts with anybody, they have to know that the primary responsibility of building Zimbabwe is with us. And building bridges and relations is basically for the interests of Zimbabwe and those with like-minded minds in terms of trying to build a better world. And when we are doing so, we are always cognizant of the fact that Zimbabwe is a friend to all and an open to none, and an enemy to none, and that we are open for business. And in whatever interaction that we make with powers, big or small, we should always know that Zimbabwe shall forever be sovereign and an independent state. So I hope I've been able to answer you about issue about big and small. There is no big and small. Zimbabwe believes in the sovereign equality of nations. So we will interact that way with, as I said, principled pragmatism. On the other issue about economic diplomacy, our whole policy is on economic diplomacy at the end of the day, because if you look at our guiding principle, we normally say the policy is always for the integrity, dignity, and prosperity of Zimbabwe, because Zimbabwe is what it is because of the economic endowments that it has. So you shall see that as you read through the policy, the first goal is to promote a peaceful and secure international environment for Zimbabwe's development. So security first, peaceful coexistence with other nations, especially with the Africa First principle and the neighborhood first principle, starting from Southern Africa going into Africa. And the next, after we have such a peaceful environment, is to facilitate local production for export, which is our trade, emphasis on trade. Trade. What makes nations prosperous is basically trade, using the simple thing that in order to fill your glass, you fill it with something which is external to that glass. And also promoting international tourism. As you know, the four economic sectors broadly is manufacturing, is tourism, it's mining, it's agriculture, and other services could be number 5. So all these are being encouraged within or are being promoted in this policy, including the fostering of international cooperation in education, science, technology, innovation, and culture, which are the basis for capability development, as well as protect our citizens abroad and making them participate in national development. So when you look at these goals, you are looking at a whole architecture for Zimbabwe's prosperity and development, which is the aim of basically of the foreign policy. And overall, what we are saying is that we want to design and implement a robust foreign service architecture for the development and prosperity of Zimbabwe. I think this then characterizes this policy that we have here as an economic diplomacy policy. Now, when it comes to how we measure how successful we are, first of all, it is the peace that we measure. I don't know whether we've got a peace matrix, peaceometer, whether there's such something like that. But I'm sure that you can see that Zimbabwe is living in a tranquil environment, and Zimbabwe lives very peacefully with its neighbors, which is the first thing. So you can measure peace with whatever metric Mukudze which you can get. I don't know which one, but I think peace is about quietness, how vulnerable we are to violence, which for Zimbabwe we have achieved. This is one of the most peaceful countries in the world. And on the other side, you can talk about exports. At the beginning of the Second Republic, you find out that our external trade receipts were in the region of 2 billion. And as we speak, this end of last year, our external trade receipts are in the excess of 7 billion. So there it is. This is more than 300% increase. When the Second Republic came in under Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa, you find out that the GDP was hovering around 16 billion. Now we are talking about our GDP, which is over around 50 billion plus. So again, you can use any metric. And one of the issues is the number of conventions that we will sign to, or the protocols that we will sign in order to enhance our standing in the region, in Africa and in the world. Just recently, the Parliament approved the development fund, the regional development fund, and we are part of COMESA, we are part of SADC, we are part of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. We are shortly going to basically transform Zimbabwe into a diplomatic hub. As you can see, we are having so many conventions happening in Zimbabwe. There are many metrics. The more people come to Zimbabwe, the better. You'll see that last year alone, we received in December in excess of in excess of 2 million visitors coming to Zimbabwe. You cannot, that's another way of success. People don't come to a zone that they perceive to be dangerous. So you can use as many metrics as you want, but the metrics are in the green and they will continue to be in the green. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Over to you, Chief.
Thank you, Honorable Ministers, for responding to
questions. We now move to the last round of questions for today. Yes.
Okay. My name is Latu Nyang from ZTN, Zen Prime. My first question goes to the Minister of Transport. This is in line with the interchange. Probably I'm looking at the time frame. What time it needs to be expected to be done? Then the second question goes again on the issue of there's been some concerns about the government system when it comes to road accidents in relation to the recent one which happened along the road. What position for government statuses in place when it comes to these roads during the case of the road? Are there any systems put in place to do the adjustment? Another question goes to the Minister of ICT. Looking at this Postal Communication Act, I'm just looking at the issue to do how is government making sure that there is compliance to come to the international standards?
Thank you very much. Any further questions? Mukazeli, you are happy to send James? Okay. Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chief Secretary. Yeah, we didn't discuss about Mabukutra Babylon today, but we can as well give you an opportunity for the Minister to respond. You termed it the Mabukutra Babylons. So we can have another Trabablas too, second Trabablas. Over to you, Minister, to discuss, to respond to the Mabukutra Babylons too.
Thank you so much, Comrade Chair, for the opportunity, and also let me thank my brother Latko for that very important question. Why it's so important is then that makes me to articulate the status quo pertaining the Mabuku Trabablas that has been alluded to. And I'm so happy that we now, it's now synonymous with the Trabablas that was opened. And indeed, this is not the only interchange that we are going to be focusing on. And the question is the time frame where the contractor is mobilized on site. And we are busy now making the detour roads. And the goodness of this interchange, in addition to the interchange, we are also administering close to 70 kilometers of new road, meaning that we'll then administer the roads, the Grindo area coming to Great City, where we are going to be applying asphalt overlay to a number of roads. And the completion of this stretch, where we are saying you'll see us in the next 2 months, we'll be moving traffic to the detours and we'll be closing the intersection, that is the Mavuku intersection, and in tandem with Jaggers, the former Jaggers, which is the Masasa Harare Drive. So we are not only looking at the Mavuku, concurrently we are working on the Harare Drive intersection so that we have another interchange. And the goodness of these projects, within the next 12 months, will be done. There are no compensation issues, which is also a major matter of concern when you are taking such kind of projects. And we are happy that the moment we start, we will then make sure that the congestion that you've been witnessing will be normal, where we are also going to be connecting straight to the RGM International Airport from the same interchange, and also decongest those that will be going to Chitumbiza, waterfalls. Instead of coming through the great city, you'll be actually taking the road directly from the interchange via the RGM International Airport and through Delport Road into Chitumbiza. So be rest assured that in terms of time frame, I know we'll be very particular. So by July, we'll be done with this section of diverting traffic, and also the 1st of February 2026, we'll be starting on the Jaggers, the one that I talked about, the interchange, the actual construction. And not only that, we also have the Chechu interchange, which is the Legacy Way and Chechu. Simultaneously, we'll be doing the Harare Borodale Road. At the same time, another interchange. So there are a number of interchanges. If I'm to start talking about that, I'm sure I will take an hour addressing, but we've got a plethora of these interchanges, which resonate with the mantra of His Excellency that and precisely this is what we are doing. He went on further to ask about the disaster management plan. As you know, this is under the purview of local government. The superintendent over the CPU, the Civil Protection Unit. That's why you've seen that the declaration was made by His Excellency, but proclaimed, and the message was relayed by the Minister of Local Government. But however, the whole of government approach, we are also administering in terms of second what we are doing. We are going to be having a dedicated bus lane, and my team is seized now with that. And we are going to be widening the road again further, having more lanes. And that will be an expressway right up to Makoni section and straight up to 10 miles. And currently we are working on the MAD target. So you'll see the refurbishment of this road. And above all, the awareness through Traffic Safety Council of Zimbabwe for our drivers to exercise caution whenever they are navigating this road. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. In addition to what the Honorable Minister has also highlighted in terms of infrastructural investment in order to widen the roads, there are a number of measures that the government of Zimbabwe is undertaking. You know, an accident is an undesired event, and no one plans for an accident. So capacitation of vehicle inspection is ongoing, and the resourcing of the vehicle inspection department, compliance to legislation is also one of the parameters that we are utilizing. Standardization in terms of driving, schools, the training of drivers, speed limits as a governance tool, traffic monitoring, the utilization of traffic management, the utilization of cameras for number plate recognition and facial recognition in order to curb overspeeding and traffic offenses. The capacitation of the Zimbabwe Republic Police in order to apprehend and also deal with traffic offenses. Legislation amendments that are taking place in order to ensure that our roads are safe. As the Minister has also highlighted that the Civil Protection Unit is being capacitated in order to deal with the challenges that we might not have been able to deal with as part of an architecture under a whole of government approach. The last question is to the Minister of ICT, Post and Courier Services. Honorable Maritera, over to you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Let me thank Mr. Lato for that question that he asked. I really want to thank you for that. Yes, I would like to break down my answer and say we really need to look at two fundamentals. Yes, the social aspect also plays a very great role, and also we have the technical aspect of things that we need to look at. On the social aspect, we've realized that there is need for us to work closely, especially in terms of the stakeholder engagement that needs to be done. We have also tried to make sure that we harmonize a lot of these treaties that we have. We have got several treaties that we have in terms of the ICT development of this country with other countries. So it's important that we can then be able to harmonize and implement this. We also are looking at ways that we can, through POTRAS, the Post and Telecommunications Regulatory Authority of Zimbabwe, to see a way that we can, for us to really enhance on our consumer protection. We're also looking at how we can also enhance universal access. We also, within the Post and Telecommunications Bill, we are also looking at ways that we can mitigate, ways that we can also look at challenges that people have so that at least we can relate to international best practices. On the technical side, what we've really looked at is to look at how we can be able to be ready for artificial intelligence, which is upon us, look at more technological ways, which we have now. We have got even the coming in of 6G. We also need to make sure that we're prepared. So we are really investing more on the infrastructure development part. We're looking at ways within the Act where we can also enhance in terms of our devices exposure. Let's get more people being able to access devices. Let's get more people being able to access connectivity, and that also is going to be done. We also have realized that there is need for us to look at compliance issues, look at privacy issues. This is what is being done in all other jurisdictions. So for us as Zimbabwe, within the bill, we've also looked at how we can really work towards our cyber security as a country. We've also made sure that at least we enhance our regulatory governance that we've really put in place. So in a nutshell, all we can say is definitely we've realized that there are a lot of ways that we can do for us to make sure that we look at what other countries are doing, and of course also the exposure of us also looking at what other countries are doing by also getting involved in a lot of conferences. That is also part of our act. So we really think that POTRAS is going to really assist us to make sure that we are compliant, and also we are engaging in making sure that we are reliable ISO submits. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Ministers, for responding to those questions. We have come to the end of today's post-cabinet press briefing. We meet next Tuesday. Thank you.